Hello lovely people and welcome back to another video of another part of my digital painting tutorial series. The days are getting shorter and darker and I thought maybe this little tutorial will bring some light into your hearts. Let's start with our new topic, fire. And as always guys, you know the deal, we start with our basic ground sketch. I choose any brush with any color lighter or brighter than the background and just sketch what I want to have in the end. So, first thing to remember here is it's very important that we are not painting a proper object. So nothing with a proper matter. More like moving air. Last time we covered water already. That was kind of flexible, kind of a liquid matter already. Now we are going one step further even. Fire is actually just hot air moving from one point to another. An object that seems to be in a certain way in one shot, and half a second later it's a totally different object. So how we capture that in a painting? So we start with some very loose lines here. We need to keep in mind as well that the hot air going from the bottom to the top is not just taking the direct way. It's influenced by its surroundings like wind. I feel like I mentioned that already in the grass tutorial, a little déjà vu now. The thing is, we want our fire look a little bit wavy. It has a full body in the down and separates in different, you can say, tails or maybe arms. Also little particles separating from this main body. So it can actually be really helpful to just study fire by looking at some pictures, looking at some stylized images or paintings from other artists, and practice very loose dynamic lines for getting a feel for the flow of fire. So once that is done, I grab the lasso tool, create a selection that is roughly covering the space of the lines we created before, and fill it with a color. I choose orange here because orange is in the middle of yellow and red, and all three of those colors we will need later on. Also adding here some little parts of the fire, and it can take a while until you are happy with the forms, but that should be totally fine. Alright. Yeah, we will connect them later on. For now we can merge that. We don't need the ground sketch in the background anymore. We can remove that one. Let's go to the next step. I think I'm not telling you any news when I say that the inside of the fire is hotter than the outside. And the hotter it is, the brighter it will be. So let's create another selection here in the inside of the fire body. And that is going to be our yellow part of the fire. What you need to do is imitate roughly the shapes you created before already of the body and leave enough space so that the yellow part is properly separated from the orange body. So we shrink it down here for the reason that if we use the smudge finger now, we can easily blur or distort some parts of the fire. That is very important to show that the air is moving, that we're not looking at a fixed object, we are looking at something that is all the time in motion and never stands still. So if we scale that up now again, you see we got a very nice effect, and depending on how big your resolution is, it can be quite complicated to use a smudge finger in a big way to blur or distort big parts. So since we are having an object or a painting here that doesn't need to be very crisp sharp in the end, it's totally fine to use this technique here. And to connect the yellow and the orange part. Actually, the yellow is also kind of orange. We will change that later on to connect that a little bit better with each other. We grab the soft round brush, low opacity, and just paint a little bit, yeah, orange or yellowish, so that it kind of merges into each other. Also, we go here with some more brightness, with a very bright yellow, for example, at some parts. Actually, now I'm painting that, it really feels a little bit like water, because we also have these knot points here in the flames, in the different arms of the fire. And at those knot points, or fork points, I don't know how to call them, but I think you get what I mean, where the fire splits, or where you feel there is a little bit more density of matter in the fire, if we can talk about matter at all with this, right? There, brighten it up a little bit would make the deal, in my opinion. And once again, if you see me merging layers here like crazy, you don't need to do that. It's not necessary all the time for this tutorial. I got a better feeling with that. That is part of my flow, to merge as much as possible. But you don't have to do that. You can get the same results even without merging the layers later on. Merge. And even though we are dealing with just air here actually, everything is in motion, we still would like to have some parts at least seem a little bit sharp. So what we are creating here now are thin lines following the flames, following the different arms of the fire, and brighten them up a little bit. Can take some time. Yeah, just create some selections here. If we don't like it, it's a separate layer, so we can still remove it later on. Okay, and within this selection we just choose a very bright yellow now, and with a soft round brush we block in some color. You don't need to fill it, just paint a little bit over the selection and check later how it's going, because the beginning and the end of those lines we're creating here we might need to remove anyways, or at least blur a little bit so it doesn't look too sharp. Maybe changing the color a little bit. That is up to you, and also up to the color of the fire. So I will go here with a reddish direction. Seems a little bit better than yellow. And now, as I said, let's smooth out the ends of the trails, of the lines a little bit. Alright, looking cool. So rotating the whole thing works better like that. And what is always helpful is to create a copy of what you're just doing. I just copy this layer, hide the other one, and now I can experiment here, trying things out, which might work or not work, and in the end I can still delete it and unhide, make the backup layer visible again and keep on working on those. So by creating a clipping mask, you can grab your soft round brush and paint black on this white mask to kind of soften erase some parts of your painting. That's very helpful, especially for objects like fire, for example, which doesn't really have any very sharp edges. Alright, cool. Let's do some adjustments that works with the curves or with other options here, just to higher the contrast a little bit more and see if that works. You see it kind of glows even better now. And I guess it's time for a new layer and for painting some particles. So grab a hard round brush and then, yeah, where to put them? That is a good question, but I would say start with letting those particles appear where the fire is splitting already. So you see this big shapes, these big islands getting separated from the fire. Just let those islands, those parts split a little bit more. You can add very tiny dots, you can add bigger shapes, that is just up to you. In the end, they should not look perfect, that is all. They should not look perfectly round, perfectly squared or something. Just put down some color, and we will use the smudge finger after that and yeah, adjust it a little bit. Just like that. Yeah, that is very important. The fire doesn't look that plain anymore. Now it got some texture to it, right? I think that works better. Okay, I feel that this whole fire is not balanced out properly, so I remove some parts of the bottom right. Not really removing, I use the layer mask and paint with a soft round brush black on white. That means I let the bottom right part of the fire disappear, and I feel like that is very, very much better balanced. What do you think? And you might agree that that looks like fire already, but I learned in my studies that it's very important to in the end connect the whole piece a little bit more with each other, because fire is not really separating that hard from each other. So what we do is creating a new mask below, not a new mask, sorry, a new layer below our fire. Grab the soft round brush again, and then with a orange, red, low opacity, softly paint some streams below the fire. Just connect the whole piece a little bit more with each other. If you feel like there needs to be more paint, then do it. If you feel like there's a little bit too much, create a layer mask and remove some parts. That is totally up to you. But that works way better already. That looks like fire. Stylized fire, at least. But the whole thing is not glowing enough for me. So let's go to a white color again, create a new layer, and with a soft round brush just lighten up this parts in the down. Remember, where the fire comes from, it's the hottest, it's the brightest, so let's brighten that up. You can experiment with different layer styles. Normal should do it here, but we can also check out other modi. But yeah, I think there are more ways it will work. Alright, that looks cool for now. I think we are mostly done with the fire itself, but I would like to show you something else, because what always belongs to a fire is the smoke coming from it. So what we're doing here is grouping this all together in one folder, copying it just for having a safe copy. I shrink it down a little bit that we have more space for the smoke turn it on the right because I would like the smoke to be blown to the left direction a little bit more. And now we create a new folder and let's call it smoke. Then also, okay, let's call the other one fire. And the smoke folder is below the fire one, obviously. And now we grab our lasso tool again and just try to get a, not like this, but to get a nice dynamic shape. Something like a big flat fire. Cool. I use the gradient tool now and go to a reddish oranges gray and just see how it works. Cool. That is very nice, and you see the edges are way too sharp. Now we grab the soft round brush again, go on erase mode and just smoothen those edges out a little bit. Our focus is not the smoke here, so it's just there to support the illusion of having something hot, something that burns stuff, right? I realized in my studies that smoke is a very nice way to do that. And now you see the smoke is almost completely gone, but it's still doing a difference. I think that looks nice. I'm quite happy with that. So what's left now is that the whole fire is not glowing enough. I would say we grab our soft round brush again, a little bit lower opacity, and just paint a little bit of red, soft red shapes here and there behind the fire. Just letting the whole thing glow properly. That might be already a little bit too much. Yeah, I will remove some of those. But the reason why that is glowing that nice is also because we have a very dark background. And painting something bright on something dark is having a great effect in ways of glowing. This contrast is helping us a lot here. Okay, I feel like the bottom, the root of the fire is not working too well, so maybe we can do a little smudgy there in the down. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, what we do now. I think that is something I explained to you in each and every tutorial of mine. We create a new layer, create a layer mask with this layer, fill it with any color, then we create some noise with the noise filter. We scale this noise up and put it on soft light layer mode. Then we create a layer mask and fill it black so that it's not shown anymore. And now if you grab your soft round brush and paint white on this black layer mask with a very low opacity, you can let those noise, those grain appear in certain places. And even for this kind of thing like a fire, we want to have some texture. So I just let the noise appear here and there, mostly at the darkest places, darkest spots. And think that was our last. Let me try maybe to work with color a little bit more. I created a new layer and try to put some violet in there. Because for me this whole thing is a little bit too unified, you know? It's too warm, maybe a very tiny contrast would work very nice. Yeah, on this opacity I think it works well. So, and with that final step done, I thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments if that was helpful to you or if there are some open questions left. I plan a second part on the topic fire. Next time we will cover fireballs. And yeah, looking forward to see you there again. Until then, have a very nice time, enjoy the days, and see you soon. Bye bye.